how do you perceive aliens? Do you see them as biological beings? Do you see them as astral beings, just like spirits? Or do you think that it's neither or they're kind of both? Or
Well, and here I'll get into some of the really high technical stuff, of what we were into at Spacecom and so on. And that is that what most people think of as, interplanetary aliens, people traveling back and forth in spaceships and stuff, that part of it you can pretty much cross off. And the reason of it is this. First of all, forget about Einstein, because it's completely possible to travel faster than the velocity of light. Remember that the measurement of velocities is actually just measured between two different objects in three-dimensional space. Mm-hmm. So if you take the planet Earth and the planet Mars, and you suddenly have Mars traveling away from Earth at 186,000 miles a second, then that's the velocity of light waves, which would travel at the same rate if you bounced them, back from Mars and they were sort of chasing after you. So that's what 186,000 miles per second, the velocity of light, is all about. The reason that the Einsteinian people get all confused and say you can't travel faster than that, well, of course you can. You just step on the gas and you go 186,000 plus 1. But what happens is that, remember we were talking about the electromagnetic spectrum earlier and the business of detection. Well, the detectable electromagnetic waves in the electromagnetic spectrum have a maximum velocity of that 186,000 miles per second. So if you go faster than those, you escape them. You're traveling so fast that if somebody from Earth were looking at you, you would disappear, because the light waves that are coming back at you can't reach Earth because they're actually receding from it, because of the thing that they're bouncing off with is traveling faster than that. So what we're talking about when you hear this old saw that says you can't travel faster than light, yeah, you can, but you can't travel. When you do that, you exceed the ability of other people to detect you anymore. And if you're on the traveling spaceship itself, you're exceeding the ability of yourself to have reference points that use things like radio and radar waves from your spaceship, because you're basically exceeding their ability to come back to you. Mm. So that's the problem. So if, let's say that you're an alien spaceship in Alpha Centauri and you want to fly to Earth, you can exceed the speed of light to get here, but to do so, you would have to go through a period of blanked out blindness, and just hope that when you emerged from it, your calculations brought you out at the right place, which in something as vast, with those kinds of vast differences, is basically statistically on the impossible side. Mm-hmm. So in real time, if you're below the velocity of light, in real time, you couldn't, as a normally functioning material form, you couldn't hold together that long biologically to be alive for the trip. You've seen some science fiction novels. You've seen some science fiction stories where people are on a traveling spaceship and it takes generations to get to the other place. Well, that's sort of the response of something like this. So the idea of hopping on a starship and traveling to another galaxy and back, Star Wars and stuff like this, no, that can't happen in four-dimensional objective space, but it can very definitely happen in the fifth dimension. That's what I was talking about earlier. And I'm also saying here, and this is very important, the fifth dimension is not merely you imagining stuff that's fictional, because you have the ability in this to lock in instantaneously with other fifth-dimensional minds and consciousnesses, and that's where the reality of beings from other planets or other life-supporting systems comes into being. And you can fantasize this stuff, but you don't necessarily have to. And if you're coherent, you're not imagining it. It's a reality. So I'm saying that the existence of beings other than yourself that you detect through your fifth dimensional, I mean, we're doing it right now on the phone. I'm detecting your existence here, and you're detecting mine instantly over a vast distance. And we're doing it because of the fact that our different consciousnesses are forming a picture of the other individual, the other consciousness, as a functioning entity, and it's a real one. Well, that's the same that happens in real communication with extraterrestrial entities that way. So I don't know if that's too hard to kind of get through, but that's the kind of gut principle that makes it reality and makes the reality different than mere fantasy.
I can't speak